This is David Burns, and I'm speaking from the Portland, Oregon Marriott Hotel, which is one of the strangest places I've ever been in my life. We have just had a very special and theoretically impossible reunion of the 4 original members of the Freedom Center. 3 of us are sitting here right now. We're sitting in a conference room in the Marriott Hotel, and I feel compelled to begin with paying attention to the ambient sound. And I'm just going to try to connect by singing along with it. Nom, 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 It's a very complex sound. It has overtones and undertones. Na, da, 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 da. So I want to speak a little bit about the early days of the Freedom Center. First, there was 1. That was Oryx. Then there were 2. That was Will. Then there were 3. That was me, Dave. And then there were 4. That was Vicky. And the 4 of us managed to join together and take on a $14 million mental health organization and have a major confrontation with them, nonviolent, that lasted for a matter of months or a year, lasted about a year, got their attention, got the attention of people all over the area, and ended up making, I believe, significant changes in the functioning of the organization. So I was one of 4, and I've decided to call myself Director of Outreach of the 4 people. And my job was to hang out on the street in front of the cafes and connect with consumers and survivors, and find out what the word was on the street, and to meet people who had been diagnosed by psychiatry. Because of my connection with the Freedom Center, I had the courage and the backup and the support to go to this place of horror and visit my friends. That's how it all started. Between 1970 and 1975, I had lived at R.D. Laing's experimental experiential communities in London. That was a world where psychotic, quotes, behavior was the norm, and normal, quotes, behavior was weird, to the extent that when I showed up, the fact that I'd been to Harvard was held against me, whereas the fact that I'd been diagnosed schizophrenic, they let me in immediately. And I was familiar with a whole range of human beings. The second thing I want to talk about is probably the most important thing in my life right now, and it's inner work. It's very hard to explain what inner work is, even though we do it all the time. Every human being does inner work 24 hours a day. It's difficult to talk about. People who talk about doing inner work sound like some kind of spiritual heroes because extraordinary things happen. This is at Carl Jung, Arnold Mindell. People think, oh, these were spiritual giants, and they weren't. They were average human beings. But I'm going to take that risk, and I'm just going to talk about the inner work that I've done myself. I don't really know how. I have an idea of how to. I have been living for 35 years with a condition that I call Howard Hughes syndrome. Now, there's so many movies and books and stuff that people know that he was weird. So I share Howard Hughes's weirdness. This condition is known to psychiatry as obsessive-compulsive disorder, 301.3 in the DSM, or something. And after studying Carl Jung for many years and drinking and drugging as much as I possibly could to numb myself, in 1986 I decided to take the plunge, and I designed my life in a particular way. My first priority was not to drink or drug. My second priority was to do inner work, and I just lived that way for 10 or 12 years. And I was pretty much of a hermit. Howard Hughes syndrome is quite easy to do inner work with because it's easy to find the bad place. The way to do inner work, I believe, is to find the bad place and just go there. There's a story from mythology of a hunter who went to the castle and met the king and fell in love with the daughter, and the king said, "You can marry my daughter if you perform one task." And so he, I'm leaving out details, but the hunter got on his horse and the dog was following, and he got to the lake. And a hand reached out of the lake, grabbed the dog, pulled it under the water, and the dog was never seen again. So the hunter on his horse at the edge of the lake, he said, "This must be the place." I tried to, instead of fleeing the contamination from obsessive-compulsive, from Howard Hughes syndrome, I decided to approach it and to let whatever imagery came up fill my consciousness, and to see if the contamination could manifest itself as a being, an animal, an insect, a human being, a god. I didn't care. And I got all those. I got insects, I got mammals, I got gods, and I spent this long period of time experiencing contamination as a being. And that was a major stage in my healing. Contamination was no longer a meaningless torment. It was a way of experiencing life. And even in that early stage, I had massive healing because I experienced my condition in a different way, and I was grateful for it because it gave me access to this inner world. I did this for a long time. I eventually connected with Arnold Mindell and the process work people out here in Oregon, started using their techniques, which empowered, revivified what I was doing. And my experience has been that doing inner work on Howard Hughes syndrome has made it tolerable, has made it a good life, and has made me grateful that I have this condition, because it's made my exploration of my inner world possible.